Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, August 7th. We are on the European account and we ideally for Wednesday want to get a lot of cards done. I should re-roll this because I need new gold, more gold, a lot more gold. The new expansion came out and I used all of it. So I gotta re-roll this, otherwise that would have been super easy to play Murlocs, and 100 cards. We'll be doing this Tavern Brawl. Friday for the European account. We've got a glitched graphics where the camera zoomed in too much. So we just really need to play the Murloc deck and probably need to try and rush through news as much as possible. Kind of doing a secret stream today unintentionally, in the sense that it seems like YouTube cannot figure out that I'm streaming right now, so I have no idea where this data is going or what is happening there. It doesn't seem like it's a live video at all, but then OBS is not complaining about it either. So did they change OBS, did they change YouTube's server to the point where it doesn't even report problems back to the software, or something else going on? Who knows. But of course I'm recording this too, so this footage will eventually get released. So let's start going through the news as quickly as possible. We have a game on Steam called Age of Wonders Planetfall, which looks like a real-time strategy, turn-based, no, it's a turn-based strategy style game that looks a lot like a modern StarCraft type game. Let's see, if you want the Platinum Edition, you're paying $90. If you want the regular edition, you're paying $50. And there's a $60 version too. So it's single player, but I suspect multiplayer focused, third-party account required, and end-user license agreement. This is also 84% on Metacritic. The third-party account is the thing that's going to convince me not to buy this or put it on the follow list. That being said, when you've got an 83 on Metacritic, when you've got very positives here, I think this does deserve to be on the follow list. So I'm willing to go that far. I'm going to put it on the follow list. I'm not being extremely generous today. I'll think about it some more. Think about it. Do I really want to play a turn-based strategy? Is this the one turn-based strategy that I want to play? I'm in a weird position right now where I'm just more and more things are happening that are pulling me away from starting to even play a new game. So so that is another issue that I'm running into. Is just like there's potentially a lot of things that have drawn me away from doing the thing that I proclaim to love to do, which is to play video games and be a critic on them. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Paw Paw, which looks like it's a top-down shooter with some just kind of generic graphics. It's Pew Paw. I don't know. I don't see anything here that makes this look particularly interesting as far as a twin-stick top-down shooter game. It's $6.79 discounted, English and Russian. Would I call this particularly a Russian troll game or even a Russian low-effort game? Not really. It actually looks pretty nice visually. It just top-down twin-stick shooters aren't particularly interesting to me. Alright. So how can we...
What to do?
How can we do anything? We can attack here with that and set off an explosion trap. And then we can do this.
Stormy, stormy.
Job's done.
Then end the turn. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian characters. So clearly this is probably a Chinese game. Looks like it's a low effort visual novel text based game from the looks of it. Every screenshot is just a ton of text with a couple of menus with backgrounds. Early access discounted to $4.79, 100 Steam achievements. This is an achievement game. Not something we've really seen with bad Chinese games so far. Didn't realize they had figured out the whole deal about Steam achievements.
A new Valore Dana.
So, well, regardless, because English is not supported, it's not going to be a game I cover. Next, we have a game on Steam called Card Story. Let's just face it, most of these games today are not going to make it to a fall list. That's usually the case, but I think particularly today, that's going to be the case. Card Story looks a lot like a Slay the Spire clone, made by a Chinese developer. $14.99, English and Chinese as the language. Yeah, way too expensive too for an early access game. $14.99. Let's do this, and then this, and this. This would be considered a Murloc. This would be considered a Murloc.
Job's done.
In the genre. Next, we have a game on Steam called Gunslug's Rogue Tactics, which looks like it's a pixel art Contra clone. Now, inherently, as a Contra clone, it looks fine. So this really would just come down to how it plays, and a question about, do I need to play a Contra clone when I very possibly will never play Contra. It seems like with Rogue in the name, it also has roguelike elements, which then would justify playing the game a little bit more, but I'm not sure. I'm questioning the level design and the randomization of the placements of things, because if you're just wandering around the same areas over and over again with a roguelike element, that's going to be annoying. The thing about Rogue Legacy that made it good was the fact that there were a lot of instances of variety in Rogue Legacy. Gunslugs 3, I'll put it on the fall list. It's discounted to $13.49, English only. I'll put it on the fall list and we'll see what people think of it. I wouldn't be surprised if people don't think too much of it. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Silver Chains, which this probably are assets, but I'm not sure I'm quite yet ready to say this is an asset flip game. It might be a much more polished horror game. We've kind of not had a lot of amazingly successful horror games since things like Amnesia happened. Head Up is a recognizable publisher. This does look like somebody is trying really hard to make some scary footage. This is discounted to $21.24, full audio in English and a bunch of other language support. This definitely needs to be on the fall list. It's already mostly positive. This looks like this is an actual horror game. Right, now over here we want Murlocs, and we want to will kill as many people as possible. So, Murloc here, attack here, attack here.
Job's done.
Turn. Next, we have a game on Steam called Magma Chamber, which looks like it's a low polygon game with not a lot of effort put on it. Yeah. Visually, this is not enticing. This seems simplistic. Something that would be fine for a first-year programmer student project, particularly if the programmer is not intending to be an animator themselves, but nothing otherwise interesting. Discounted to 59 cents, English, full audio, allegedly. I need to quit saying allegedly. I'm just going to say what it says, and if that's true, good. If it isn't, fine. It's them that would be misspeaking, not me, so. Alright. This. And this. And that. I don't know how we're going to take this guy out. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Bad Hombre, which looks to be ported from a cell phone. Looks like a ColecoVision quality game. Dude, it's just like really, really old looking for no reason. I think this is a troll game because the Bad Hombre phrase is something I think Trump said once, and this screenshot looks like this is a reference to Mike Pence. So $11.99 English language only. This looks like a troll game. This is not something worth anybody's money or time. And we still are getting an extensive amount of troll games.
Ready for this?
I could potentially win if I can keep enough Murlocs on the field and get all of the mana crystals unlocked. Because 6 damage extra to each minion. That would be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Next we have a game on Steam called Crazy Space Pirate. Looks like it's a platforming style game. Doesn't look visually very impressive. I like that the camera zoomed in though, I will grant them that, and I like the tank animation. It's $1.49 discounted, which for that price might make sense, although the name seems low effort and it's in English Russian languages, so that's a red flag. And it's 10 achievements, and that's not really a red flag. Yeah. So there might be $1.50 worth of gameplay in this, but I'd be careful even at that. Okay, so I have 1 mana crystal, and playing that fills that.
Toil and trouble!
We need this off the field. So let's do this. That goes away. That goes away. And then here, 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 and then.
Well played.
but he's got so many cards. The odds of him not being able to do 12 damage is really low. I do want to win. I would like to go up in rank, but I don't need to do that today. I just need to play Murlocs and cards while we're covering the news. So let's keep on playing. Next we have a game on Steam called 61 Days. From the looks of the video, it seems to be a extremely low effort 3D polygonal game from like the 90s. It's just like total garbage visually. It's definitely not appealing. It's $3.50, which is an odd price, and it's English and Spanish, which isn't too odd of a language selection. Just gonna give it everything that's not a Murloc in the hopes of getting the Murloc quest done quicker. Next we have a game on Steam called Rencia, which seems to be a city sim strategy game with MS Paint level graphics. Visually this is, again, completely unappealing. There's no way I'd ever want to buy this. The art here doesn't look terrible, but the name seems ridiculous and unfocused in the thumbnail. It's just over. It's an early access game asking for $13.49 discounted right now. It's definitely not worth that, in my opinion. In return, I totally played that wrong. I screwed that up bad. I did not even see what the cards were that were in my hands. TechRaptor has a review for that horror game Silver Chains, Spooky Scavenger Hunt. So let's see what the review says. At the end, just a recap. We don't need to read the whole review. They gave it a 6.0 good. The summary says there are two silver chains. The atmospheric pre-monster silver chains draws you in with intriguing great visuals. The post-monster silver chains is a silent scavenger hunt in the dark, occasionally interrupted by a spooky monster. It's not bad, but it's not for genre fans either. The pros are excellent atmosphere building, great lighting, some unconventional puzzles, and fun level design. The cons are bog standard horror game, unfulfilling monster, predictable story, unsatisfying exploration, over reliant on jump scares, and it's very short. I think the very short, more than anything else, convinces me to not stand with it. That did nothing. So I'm gonna go back and just close Silver Chains. Yeah. There's already way too many, just way too many in general horror games out there. If I'm gonna play any of them, like Amnesia, it's probably just gonna be Amnesia, and that's it. Alright, another Murloc to play.
Job done.
Gametsu has an article. Journey is now available for iOS. Journey was originally for the PlayStation exclusively. Seeing it go to iOS is nice, but as somebody who uses Android and plays PC gaming, I am still far away from being able to play it. Apparently it is on PC, but it must be an Epic Store game. I bet it is. Let's see. Yeah, it's an Epic Store exclusive. So one day it will come to Steam and I'll be able to play Journey, but in the meantime, Journey is available for everybody else. Now I don't know what real experience I'm going to have in all actuality, if I was to play Journey many years after it originally happened and had that impactful element to it. But it's still something that I think was critically acclaimed well enough that I'd want to play it. Next we have a game on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian characters. I suspect this is a 4-player Mahjong Chinese game. Let's see, yeah, it is Mahjong. Doesn't look like a terrible version of Mahjong. I've seen a lot more mobile versions that don't have any hand animations. I don't know how much the hand animation really changes anything. Although, seems like the character you were playing as, there was a slime monster or an alligator or something. There is something to the hand actions in Mahjong, but I don't think it's inherently that important. You can also see that there's just a lot of anime girls in this, like most Mahjong games. It's early access, it's free to play, it's Chinese only as the languages, simplified in traditional Chinese. Inherently, because this is a Chinese game, the anime girls aren't going to be very scantily clad, and you're not going to see a lot of them, so their presence is highly superficial, although it seems like there are some more skins in this than most. Does this have in-app purchases? No. Doesn't. Didn't play fast enough. But yeah, since the game does not support English, it's not something you could go on my follow list. I will say though, a game quite like that with a little bit more polish, particularly if it was cheap. I guess if it's free to play, I would cover it, but if it was cheap, I would be willing to play it. I did cover what was the name of the series? Pretty Girls Mahjong Swimsuit Edition a while back. That concept is something that could be improved upon, certainly. There could be a better English translated style of Mahjong game on Steam, and I have yet to find it. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, there's a bunch of Murlocs. Next we have a game on Steam called Legends of Area, which looks like it's a MMO. It's already mixed. Doesn't look like it's particularly that good, like a Warcraft clone. Early access, $19.99 discount. Third party account, third party EULA, English only. With this initial reception being mixed already, and with the visuals I'm seeing, yeah, I don't see a game here. I don't think anything behind this developer and publisher before. So, yeah, that doesn't need to be on the follow list. Let's do this, and this, and then do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Neon Exile, which, this looks like somebody did some work. What is this though? It looks like it's a VR game where you're mostly controlling some kind of construction robot, and then the robot is climbing up the girders to place more girders. This feels like you're just controlling a construction crew. How is there a game in that? Yeah, I don't see what it is. Build, climb, and explore and fight back against a robotic threat in this open world persistent MMO created from the ground up for VR. That's an insane concept that does not make any sense. This game is discounted by 5% to $23.74, and it requires VR. And since the game makes no sense, I'm going to take the opportunity to not put it on the follow list. Do I have enough here to win? I don't believe I do. Yeah, I'm 6 short. But next turn, I very possibly could win. So we talked about this earlier in the stream. Gamma Citraz article. Release date changes on Steam now appear to require Valve's approval. Valve looks to have made a change in the way Steam handles release dates for upcoming games, according to a post spotted by PC Games In. Attempting to change the release date on an unreleased game on Steam now prompts developers to contact Valve to make the change a reality. A screenshot of the message itself was posted to Reddit by a user that tells PC Games In that they work at an indie label, and the text shared notes that developers should be pretty certain that your new date is the date you will release before notifying Valve of the change. The apparent change itself follows concerns from developers and publishers that some companies with games on Steam routinely change the listed release date of their unreleased games in order to gain visibility on Steam's popular upcoming list. And we've known about this issue, to stop reading the article for verbatim here. We've known about this issue for a long time. The thing here is the system and the documentation behind this. If it really is just a matter of calling Steam and going, actually we need to change our date again, or actually we need to change our date. Like, I could easily imagine that you would, I'm just gonna play casual because I'm not winning with the Murlocs, which is weird. Usually you would win with Murlocs. I could easily imagine that, let's say there is 100 support techs at Valve, just people in India contracted to handle support calls from the developers. Somebody calls one week and says we need to change our release date, and they go, okay, we'll do that for you, and they change the release date. That same person calls the next week or even the next day. Are they going to get flagged? Are they going to get recognized? Is there any history to the release dates? Or can you just constantly, well, not every day, but every week, call in and change the date again? I wouldn't be surprised if you could. And eventually that will get a certain level of people. As someone who once worked at a call job, there eventually were people that we found out that were just calling in and again and trying to abuse the service as much as possible. But honestly, out of potentially 10,000 callers, you'd find maybe one, at most one person out of 10,000. When you knew that there were a lot more, it's just, unless there was an actual documentation and system there where the account gets flagged, it gets documented that the account has been changed. If the publisher has only so many changes before they start looking at them more closely, this very much feels like this might be a TSA style of security theater as much as it could be an actual improvement on Valve's part. Like, it really could be nothing other than that. Inherently, one would hope that this is the beginnings of the first step to improve the storefront and just kind of curate the storefront a little bit, get away from the crazy libertarian idea that everybody should have the opportunity to sell their game. That's not true. It's just not true. It's silly to make a storefront, a place where you're trying to run a business and sell things, and say that every crazy, insane person can put their game up there and pull every trick they can think of to try and distract people away from seeing the games that they actually want to see and actually want to play. Now, arguably, again, I'm not sure how many people actually look at the upcoming player list, the popular upcoming game list, or if that is just a list that game developers and publishers look at and get upset about. I feel like there are several instances of things that the publishers and developers are upset about that really don't affect their game in any real way on Steam, and then they get mad and potentially jump over to Epic Store or some other store. But the popular upcoming list should probably be, in its name itself, it is saying it is the popular upcoming list. It should do something to prove that, to ensure that that's the case. I think we're good.
Elements guide me.
I think we might win here. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Mary Skelter 2 for Switch launches October 22nd in North America and October 23rd in Europe. Mary Skelter, like, not to be confused with Saga Scarlet Grace, I suppose. Looks like it is a dungeon crawler game. I believe that is what it is. It's a dungeon crawler. And I think it's already on PC. It's been a while. Yeah, they're saying it's an RPG game. Yeah, it's kind of like a dungeon crawler RPG game. That's kind of it. I'd like to see some more reviews of it when it comes out, which is something I could say certainly for any game. Yeah, and as soon as I start playing casual, I get victories, or whatever that's worth. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. The Chinese publisher NetEase is building a $725 million esports park in Shanghai. Now, the thing that I understand of Chinese construction is the Chinese government heavily pushes people to constantly be constructing and building things, and as a way to some would say manipulate their economy, others would say stimulate their economy. It gives a lot of low education people jobs to build. Now, inherently, and you have this I think in Mexico a lot too, it also involves thugs / Pinkerton like people kicking people out of their legally owned houses so that they can tear down their apartments to build some new apartments, and shady shenanigans. Also, Chinese construction is notoriously bad, just throwing junk in the walls, not knowing how to build things, not laying good proper concrete down, not having a foundation. There's at least one mall they built that was abandoned after just a few years. And nobody was really shopping in it at all anyways. There's a ton of cheap quality construction that happens in China. So this could all be very much shenanigans, for lack of a better term. to spend $725 million to build an esports park. Or it could be all on the up and up, and this is actually a construction they want to stand and last, and it's all going to be done well, and they're going to have good contractors who build it the right way. And then what? Then you get a bunch of Chinese people in there who play esports, and you try to have a thriving esports convention center park. How do you do that when China is censoring most of the games? You're limited down to probably the NetEase owned League of Legends game, which would be about all I could think. Well, I guess NetEase didn't do League of Legends. No, NetEase is actually known for distributing Minecraft Pocket Edition and EVE Online in China, and that's kind of it. Yeah, they're not involving Tencent, which owns League of Legends or Honor of Kings. So yeah, you're in it's a weird investment, one could say. Well, now that I know how this card key phrase reborn works,
Job done.
it's not particularly good. Now is the main key phrase added to this expansion for Saviors of Oldham is reborn, and it's kind of nothing. So I guess the only thing you could really say is that it'll be interesting to see when construction's finished for this esports park. Is this esports park ever going to be used for what it's supposed to be used for? Is it going to be a good investment? Inherently, one would assume that almost all of China, that's the city parts of China, is way overpopulated, so building a giant esports park is probably not the most efficient use of the land. Let's do these two first. And this. And this. And then we do this. I think we can do this fine. And then we can do this. And then that fixes it even better. End the turn. Ready for the 5th turn. Now to play this. I've got a full field. So yeah, I guess we can only really say we will see. Wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't even finish construction. TechRaptor has an article, updated Apex Legends Iron Crown Collection event features solos mode. I don't know how many people are playing Apex Legends, and I don't really care, so I'm going to just mention that title and then move on from that point. Let's see. This. And I can't play this. I really would like to play this. Oh well, I guess we'll just win. We'll just win regardless. TechRaptor has an article here. Updated shortest trip to Earth leaves early access soon. Another game I've never heard of. This is, well, it's hype articles. This looks like this might be an FTL clone. Interesting. But apparently there's a price increase on launch. We're seeing more and more of that happen where it's like, oh, you better buy it now because we're going to increase the price. It's still not really out of early access or in any state that deserves to be the price it already is at, but we're going to increase the price anyways. Let's see, transform your minions into random legendary ones. That'd be interesting. Sure. Let's transform that.
Job's done.
We already talked about this, but Gamma Citra has the same article. Psionics is removing paid randomized loot boxes from Rocket League this year. One would almost assume that they will remove it from Steam first, and then nah, I wanted to play that. Like, I think the order of actions will be Rocket League will remove itself from Steam. People will have forgotten that Rocket League said it was going to remove itself from Steam and be upset when they try to purchase it again, and then they're going to remove paid loot boxes, and that will be maybe something that they can try to do the day after the news breaks that it's been removed from Steam and people are upset, just as a way of creating a counter PR event. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. Final Fantasy and Romancing Saga Scarlet Grace boosts sales at Square Enix despite a profit downturn. So sales are up, profit is down. What does that mean in layman's terms? It means more units of the games in general from Square Enix were sold, but the units were priced at a lower price. And Romancing Saga, for instance, was probably a cheaper game than Final Fantasy 15 was. So if the market will actually bear it and there's actual demand, assuming you believe in supply and demand, which is an assumption you probably shouldn't take, the response to this would be they should have raised their prices on the games, and I'm sure that's exactly what Square Enix will take, unless they're a little bit smarter than that and they realize, oh, we can't raise our prices because the quality of our games are getting worse and worse, and we've lost our Final Fantasy guy. And best case scenario, Square Enix has been trying to just survive long enough to get the remaster of Final Fantasy VII out, at least part 1 of the Final Fantasy VII remaster out, so that you can regain a fan base and make more sales on that game, which will be particularly overpriced because it's going to be a $60 game for the first, third, or fourth, or fifth of Final Fantasy VII. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Genetic survival game Niche will be free for schools and on sale for everyone else. This game Niche I've not heard about anything about, but whatever. Let's see. You can get it on Steam for $12.59. Let's see what the game actually looks like. Well, they're starting with a live action video, which I don't think is necessary. It seems like they're kind of like Eevees, little foxes that just evolve more and more. So is this like a modern version of the Game of Life, or is this just a ridiculous game? It doesn't seem like you get a lot of variety here. I feel like Spore probably would be way better than Niches. I don't know why YouTube is suggesting to me a bunch of drama Disney videos. Where are you, YouTube? You know, sometimes it's like, where's YouTube's head at? Because I have no idea. I had to play really fast there. Moving on, we have Gamatsu for the PC and PS4. Fire Pro Wrestling Fire Pro Wrestling World, quote, World Wonder Ring Stardom collaboration DLC has been announced. 10 wrestlers from the Japan's World Wonder Ring Stardom are in the fray. Now, my question here is, this all female wrestlers being added to Fire Pro Wrestling? Yeah, it says Fire Pro Wrestling World, which brings Japanese leading women's professional wrestling promotion, World Wonder Ring Stardom, to the game with 10 new wrestlers. No details, I guess, specifically on the name of those wrestlers, which would probably be a bigger sale. Seems like the people that are fans of wrestling still love Fire Pro Wrestling, and as I understand it, Fire Pro Wrestling has shifted itself in a way so that it is more now about it is more now focused around licensed characters instead of just making characters that were kind of like the characters they couldn't license. At some point, I think I probably do owe it to myself to play Fire Pro Wrestling. But again, that's like Rocket League, like I was saying this earlier. Owning Rocket League makes sense to me. Owning all the DLC to Rocket League doesn't. Owning and playing Fire Pro Wrestling makes sense to me. Owning all of their DLC doesn't. Alright, so what did we just get? Summon a 4/3 golem after your hero attacks. Refresh this. Alright.
Job done.
So he can do this several times. Well, twice in one turn. Let's see. I assume that's what he's going to do. And that was part of Hack the System. 4/3 Stone Golem.
Try this.
Alright. This will add 5, 10, 15, plus that would be 18. I think we can win here. Not in this turn, of course, but pretty quickly after that point. Next we have a game on Steam called Semantically Muffled. I don't get the name. It looks like it is just a top-down twin-stick shooter game with not that interesting graphics, pen and paper style art style that's not very good. It's discounted to $15.99. It supports a bunch of languages. Yeah. This is a game perhaps I don't fully understand, but I've seen enough of it to be unimpressed while I've been watching the videos play. Right. This. And that.
Job done.
So he's down to 2 at this point. But he could kill me in one turn if he can buff his characters. Let's see. Next we have a Gamatsu article for the Switch, PS4, and PC. River City Melee Mock launches October 10th in Japan. It seems like it's another River City clone, which, yeah, I don't think it's from the same people as River City Ransom, but maybe it is. This is Arc System Works, and I don't think that's from the same people as River City Girls. Let's see. No, River City Girls is from the same developer as River City Melee Mock, or same publisher. So maybe they are just having a weird re-emergence of the River City franchise in a weird way. Yeah, I just need to attack one more turn and I'm gonna win. I will say River City Melee Mock looks like it's more of a Smash Brothers clone than a River City game, and I'm not sure I'd really want to play that kind of game with that level of graphics. Gamma Sutra has an article, the design and iteration of tactical deck building game Nowhere Prophet. Nowhere Prophet feels like it is the most recent game that I've seen that's gotten a little bit too much hype and a little bit too many people talking about it. We don't really need to be seeing as many hype articles as we have been lately. Alright, I cast 25 spells. We need 25 more cards and 20 more Murlocs, so still gameplay to play. Next we have a game on Steam called I'm From Area 51. This looks like a low effort troll game, although the idea of playing as an alien, it's not terrible. Destroy All Humans re-release is coming, and a reboot, remaster, continuation of the Destroy All Humans series might work pretty well. This game though is $1.99 and it's English and Russian. It's just a Russian troll game. Let's just say it is what it is. And the major increase in Russian troll games coming out lately, it seems coordinated. I can say that much. It definitely seems like somebody is intentionally coordinating an effort here. Alright, well, I don't know what to do here. I could play this, I guess, and probably wouldn't die. Next we have a game on Steam called The Ultra Code, which looks like it might be a puzzle game. I'm not sure it's a particularly interesting puzzle game. It's saying you're building machines, but all I'm seeing is it seems like you're trying to build a decoding, like Enigma box decoder in a game form to break codes, which you'd really have to walk people through that concept, and codes are not just like super easy to, so you can't really make a game around that without dumbing down the codes. So let's see.
Job done.
There we go. So the Ultra Code is discounted to $5.39, English only, 11 achievements. Visually it's unattractive, the thumbnail is terrible, the concept's not terrible, but almost certainly this is a thing that really should be a mini game inside of a first person shooter, something that's more graphical and more familiar, instead of being a element that you think could stand on its own, because it really can't. So yeah, that doesn't need to go on the fall list. Next we have a game on Steam called Flight of the Athenia. This looks like a Windows 95 shoot 'em up game, but then the screen is widescreen and it's not zoomed out enough. So yeah, this is not a game somebody could actually play. Early access, $7.64, English full audio. Let's see. Do this and this. Do this. And
Elements
that.
guide me. Job's done.
Game & Switcher has a blog here. Challenges I face to achieve 60 frames per second on a Nintendo Switch board. If you're a programmer trying to port a game to Nintendo Switch, this might be of information to you. There's probably a significant amount of challenges that you're going to have to address, certainly to port a game that was designed for other systems to run at 60 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch. Right, here we go. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Elements guide me.
Attack here.
Job's done.
Next, we have a game on Steam called The Last Player VR Battle Royale, which I think is probably just a first-person shooter, low-effort game. Saying Battle Royale and The Last Player as the title is a low-effort thing. But they definitely put effort into the videos. Like, I am visually interested in the looks of this game. So this is early access. It's $16.99, English and Chinese. So I, from the looks of it, can't just assume that this is a terrible Chinese game either. This has to go on the follow list, even though it's a VR game, because this might be something that you could actually play. Now, the question, I guess, it comes down to how realistic is it that you would get any significant amount of players together to play a battle royale game when everybody is required to have at least a $600 VR headset to play it. That seems unrealistic that you could get 100 people together to play even one match in general, let alone the hundreds of matches you'd like to have running simultaneously. Your Murlocs cost 1, and then poisonous, and that.
Thunderstruck.
That, I guess. And then enter. Moving on, Game & Switcher has an article on Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony to launch platform-wide rules on loot box disclosure. The ESA, which has its own problems. Apparently there was 2 or 3 leaks, it turns out, from the ESA of information. Although this was also information that seemingly was already going to be given out pretty publicly to vendors at the E3 to invite you to private meetings and such. So some people on that list are probably not happy that their information was released. Some people probably don't care that much. But it also had people's phone numbers, and I doubt anybody wanted their phone number public in total. So the ESA is working with the 3 main people in charge of the ESA, as I understand it, people on the board of the ESA. Let's see. Well, we can look here. Here's the list of people that are on the board of ESA: Blizzard, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Bungie, EA, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony Interactive Entertainment, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Warner Bros. Interactive, and Wizards of the Coast. So, yeah, they're all through their cooperation there in the USA, going to have platform-wide rules on loot box disclosures. Those platform-wide rules are almost certainly the bare minimum that is legally required, although better than nothing. Saying we're going to make a rule is only half the battle. You have to actually enforce it, too. TechRaptor has the same article. Console creators and game publishers will soon require disclosure of loot box odds. I believe the U.S. government also says you have to disclose loot box odds. So they're kind of just complying with the law and trying to get some good press from that. Inherently, in my mind, hearing this just means, oh, well, they have every intention to still allow loot boxes and do nothing to really stop or slow down the proliferation of loot boxes. Because the real response I'd like to hear is Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft all agreed to have no loot boxes on their consoles ever, or on anything below an adults only game. That would be some real progress in my book. Next, we have a game on Steam called Quench, which seems slightly interesting. It says it's a puzzle game. It says it's story rich. Seems to be built around the concept of freshwater and charity water as a like a hex grid kind of strategy. Maybe you're controlling the environment game. It's $19.99. It's English only. I'm gonna put this on the follow list and see if people really like it. Yeah, it seems like you control. This kind of feels like a cell phone game. It seems like you control earthquakes and rain and wind and sunniness, and you can try and have the appropriate amount of rain without going too crazy on it and having fires or floods or killing vegetation, which I guess that would be a difficult game loop too, is that you can't just have it never rain, you can't have it rain too much, you can't have it never blow the wind, you can't have it blow too much.
Shall we make a storm?
Job done.
TechRaptor has an article here. Death Stranding is no longer listed as an exclusive on the official PlayStation website. This might be just an oversight. But if it doesn't, that's kind of interesting, certainly, that maybe Death Stranding will come to PC. It did say they were going to plan to come to PC eventually. I don't think there was any plan for it to ever come to like Microsoft's software though. Like I don't think it was coming to Xbox, and I doubt it will come anytime soon to the Switch, but I wouldn't be surprised if it eventually did come to the Switch. TechRaptor has the review for Metal Wolf Chaos XD. We already looked at this game. Let's see what they give it. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually gave it kind of a mediocre score. 6.5 good isn't great. When you recognize that a terrible game is usually given a 5. Metal Wolf Chaos has more than earned its place in video game history, but playing this XD release in 2019 is a blast from the past, and that's pretty hard to swallow. A blast from the past that's pretty hard to swallow. Pros, incredible voice work, in quotes, old school ideals, arcade gameplay, cons, limited replayability, old school quirks, and abundance of useless weapons. So yeah, I think I'm somewhat ambivalent on Metal Wolf Chaos too. So I would probably, if I do get it, I would want to get it on sale. Not Not at the premium price.
There is little time.
Double time and double pay.
Okay. Let's go do this. Do this. And then this and this. And this. And then one return. So it's going to take me a while before I can play these spell cards. Which I guess is fine now because I'm dead. Yep. Komatsu has an article. Ubisoft announces its Gamescom 2019 lineup. Let's see. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Rainbow Six Siege, Roller Champions, Brawlhalla, Just Dance 2020, Trials Rising, Watch Dogs Legion. Yep, that's 7 games. That's from one publisher is a lot, but frankly, Watch Dogs Legions barely is a game that interests me, and none of the other ones interest me at all. Moving on, this one actually does affect me. Game Master has an article, DuckTales Remastered is being pulled from digital stores on August 8th. Today is August 7th. So, tomorrow. Let's see. Capcom will begin pulling it from online stores on August 8th, meaning the digital version of the game will no longer be available for purchase on Steam, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii U. The company broke the news in a short blog post, but neglected to explain why the revamped version of the classic NES platform is being yanked from digital shelves. As you expect, anybody who already owns the game will be able to re-download it after August 8th. It is also on sale on Steam right now, while the disc-based version will also continue to install and play normally. Still, it's a situation that highlights the potential perils of a future where digital downloads rule the roost, as Capcom has just pulled the game from sale without offering much of an explanation. To help people jump aboard, DuckTales Remastered is sent to meet its maker. Capcom is currently offering the game at 75% off. You can find out exactly when the platform is being removed over at the Capcom blog. So, yeah, with that being said, I'm going to have to make an emergency purchase of about $3 to buy this game because I do want DuckTales Remastered. I was going to get it just because it was a Disney game, and I don't see any reason why I would change my attitude now. It sucks when things like this happen and you're kind of forced into spending money you're not really ready to spend. There's definitely not in a position where I'm even super happy about spending $3 extra, but at least they told us. The opposite of a story like this would be, oh, DuckTales Remastered was removed right 2 days ago and nobody even noticed, and so if you wanted the game, too bad, too late. Or it could have been the game is going to be removed tomorrow, but you can buy the game right now for $100 when it's a $3 game at best. DuckTales Remastered has been out for a while. There's been nothing wrong with it as a game. It doesn't make a lot of sense for it to be removed, other than they just negotiated a ridiculously short license on the music, or possibly, I guess it is a possibility that they are removing it because they want to do a new DuckTales game based on a new DuckTales cartoon, and the old game does not work with that, or it does not promote the new cartoon. I guess that might be it, but even that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I know the newest DuckTales cartoon that I remember, I know that they had kind of changed the breakup of the kids, and there was like one female character and just Huey and Dewey,
Defend the gates.
and they've gotten rid of one of the triplets, or something along that line. I know in the original cartoon, I think there was a point where there was a female character added too. Let's do this. This, and this.
Job's done.
Then your turn. So yeah, I'm gonna have to buy that game. That's all I can really say. As somebody who saw the original DuckTales cartoon when it first aired, in small part, I was slightly interested in it, but not super interested in it. I don't think they made particularly too many episodes. It was hardly a Pokemon series where you're 400 or 500 episodes in. Alright. Will this succeed? Yeah, it will. All of a sudden I start winning as soon as I start playing ranked. But stop playing ranked. We still need to play 10 more Murlocs. Next we have a game on Steam called Zero Zone 2020. This is an asteroids style game. It's a shooter game. It's a space game. Maybe not an asteroids game. But visually it's unappealing certainly. It's 59 cents discounted, English only. Nothing more needs to be said about that. I do see the end of the road here, but I also wouldn't be surprised if I end up having to break this up and do a third recording, because we still have a lot of daily quest stuff that needs to be done on the Asian account. We're still just on the European account, but I think I might just play the Asian account off screen a little bit, and I may only get like 2 daily quests done on the Asian account, and that might be it. One of the benefits, one of the nice things that happens because I'm working on my server and taking a break from actually making recordings, is I am not in a situation where I need to talk as much. So my voice does feel like it's gotten some actual rest now, a little bit more than it usually gets. Sometimes I'll not talk very much on a weekend in 2 days, but honestly I would need to take like a whole week or 2 off, and that rarely happens. So yeah. Let's see. Let's go and kill this guy. Actually, I probably should have killed this guy. Next we have a game on Steam called Sana in the Forest. This looks like it's some kind of puzzle game, but it seems to be kind of like a strategy movement placement game. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, and visually it doesn't seem like it's very attractive, because you're walking through this forest from tower to tower and clicking on things. So yeah, that game really hasn't sold itself to me. It's $2.99 discounted, English only. Yeah, that's nothing of interest. And we have a lock.
Elements guide me. So
do we want to kill this? No, let's just do that. Do that. And then we'll return. So, Gamma Sutra, we have a couple articles here that are very similar. Fig plans payouts for Psychonauts 2 investors after Double Fine joins Microsoft. So Fig was the Kickstarter for video games website. People had funded with actual like investment shares, guaranteed payouts after a certain number of sales for people who supported Psychonauts 2. Now Microsoft has bought Double Fine and they're not going to do that. So they're doing what they have to do now and pay out people who invested in the game and saying, look, we now own this. Fig, in my opinion, and this is more of just a personal opinion than anything I think I could probably back up with actual evidence or numbers. Fig, to me, feels like it has been a complete and total failure as a attempt to be a competitor to Kickstarter for video games. It was supposed to be this highly curated platform, but there's only been like 2 or 3 games that have actually come out, and they came out to really no accord or critical acclaim. I just don't think you should kickstart games in general, personally, and Fig was definitely felt like another excuse, another reason to have to try and take people's money and pull shenanigans. On the other hand, I will say Fig, at the very least, has not been flooded with instances of Kickstarters getting funded and then not really delivering. Mostly it's just been full of Kickstarters not getting funded or delivering what they said they were going to deliver and nothing much more. Moving on, we have TechRaptor article, Children of Morta comes to PC, PS4, and Xbox One September 3rd, and the Switch version is arriving later. Children of Morta is another one of these games, I believe, that's being overly hyped and talked about too much. We can look at this trailer and see that it's kind of just a top... Well, I like the animation. It's a zoomed in camera from what the trailer is showing, pixel graphics, but I think it's a top-down style of game. Although maybe this is more story related than it looks. I actually don't have a clue. After skipping through that trailer, I do not have a clue what kind of game this is. Looking at this, I would have said it was a top-down twin-stick shooter game, and that's all it is. But after seeing the trailer, which seemed to have several cutscenes and elements like cutscenes are in it, I'm not sure if there's a great game hidden in Children of Morta or not. I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll just wait until it comes out and see the reviews. But even knowing that was a hype article, it actually hyped me a little bit. Gematsu has an article, Pixel Game Maker MV launches Q4 2019. Great, another game maker thing, so we get more garbage games on Steam. Again, if you want to make a game, don't use RPG Maker, don't use Pixel Game Maker. This is not the software you should be using. Teach yourself Unity, teach yourself Unreal. Program in a language that is an industry standard. Might as well just kill this.
Job's done.
So, because this card has +2 attack when damaged, when it's reborn, it'll come back and have +2 attack. But I don't think it matters, because you can clear the field pretty easily. Alright, this. These aren't Murlocs though, so I'm just playing a Murloc to play a Murloc.
Job's done.
Interesting. I have a website here that's just not loading at all. Probably because my ad blockers are blocking it. Looks like it's an ad link, or an ad shortener link.
A new Valore Delano.
Right now, all we're trying to do is play
Job's done.
10 Murlocs. Next, we have a game on Steam called Similar as Climb, which, by the look of it, looks like it's a 3D match match game, I guess, where you're spinning around and trying to find things that are the same or look the same from that angle. Ah, there's almost an idea there. Let's see.
I wonder.
I'm not sure I really want to play a game like this. It's $4.99 with no discount. It's English and Swedish. It has 10 achievements. I'm going to put this on the follow list because there might be something here for taking 3D models and making a match game concept around it. But there also might just be nothing to that.
Stormy, stormy.
These are all 1-1, so.
Remember the sun will.
And there.
Job's done.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Gibeos, a Cthulhu adventure. Looks like it's a point-and-click adventure game. I'm still a sucker for point-and-click adventures, and I imagine I might be one forever. This looks well animated and looks like it might be an interesting game. It's already positive. It's discounted to $17.99, but if you buy the deluxe edition, which includes the soundtrack and art book, you're up to $22.47. A bunch of languages, full audio in English, which is an important thing to check in a point-and-click adventure. Yeah, this is going to go on the follow list. I think this is a good game. Although, perhaps way more expensive than it should be. And 2 more Murlocs. So, is it going to be really a struggle to play 2 more Murlocs on Friday? Not really. So, let's go ahead and just save ourselves that frustration and switch over to the Asian account. I don't think we're going to do a third recording today. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. We can burn through the news here. Gamatsu has an article here. Modus Games announces Gamescom lineup including 2 unannounced games. Let's see. You could get the full list, I guess, just from the art. Modus, Gamescom, Trine 4, Airy, Chris Tales, and 2 more games. Airy and the Secret of Seasons, Chris Tales, Trine 4, The Nightmare Prince, an unannounced game, an unannounced game. One of the unannounced games sounds like a monkey ball game, and the other announced game sounds like a horror game, which I don't know if Mobius has anything to do with Super Monkey Ball. Alright, let's re-roll this. Challenge a friend. Nobody's gonna come on. That's gonna be a nightmare. I'm probably gonna have to re-roll that on the Asian account in particular. So that just leaves us with play 100 cards and play the Hunter. So let's just hop into that. And honestly, once I'm done with the news, that's just going to be it. If I have to play off screen some more to play more cards, that's going to kind of suck, but that's not terrible. If I have to struggle to challenge a friend, that's going to suck for sure. But it's all manageable, certainly. Gametsu has an article, Pokemon Sword and Shield details Galarian form Pokemon, form-changing Pokemon, new rivals, and Pokejobs. And I believe they also have new rivals, as in a new team like Team Rocket, which I don't think is as big of news as I think it is. I imagine that while Team Rocket has been around, there have been other bad guys for a while. These look like the bad guys with the X's over their faces. And so I wouldn't be surprised if all 4 of those characters we just saw are actually on the same team, because they all seem to have the theme of pink and black. Yep. So there's a whole new team. Does any of this really save the lack of the national Pokedex issue? I don't think it does. I think you still are definitely just upset about that if you're upset about that, and you won't not be upset about that until it stops being the case. Next we have a game on Steam called Just Another Memory, and here you have a lot of anime faces, but then the game itself looks like you're just kind of in an arena with like a bullet hell shooter boss rush game, and it doesn't seem like it has a lot of visual polish that I'd want to see here. So it feels like it's a bullet hell shooter with visual novel elements on top of each other. And they want you to subscribe to their YouTube channel. Is this a single player game? Yes. Is it English only? Oddly, yes. It really shouldn't be. It's $9.74 discounted. I'm going to put this on the follow list because it is a weird combination of 2 styles of games one would not expect to normally see. But I suspect this is probably a bad game that they threw some cheap visual novel animation and story on top of to try and sell. And I bet the actual gameplay mechanic of fighting is not to the level of quality you would expect or want. I guess if you have a magnetic card, you should play a magnetic card. Gamma Sutra has a blog here, 7 questions to answer before marketing on Twitch. At this point, marketing on Twitch, this is from the perspective of somebody who owns a game and wants that on Twitch, not somebody who's trying to market themselves as a streamer on Twitch, I'm sure. There's a lot going on with Twitch right now that Ninja is left for Mixer. Mixer's numbers seem to be way up, and Ninja in particular seems to have gotten 1 million subscribers, and he was really down too. His like daily number of subs, I believe, went from like 100,000 a day or monthly down to 10,000 a day or monthly. I don't have the exact numbers, but he was really down on Twitch. So for him to move the Mixer and all of a sudden get 1 million is a good thing. It's probably not a sustainable thing that will happen to him a lot, but yeah, Microsoft did really well to bring Ninja the Mixer, and of course then you run into how much money did Microsoft actually pay Ninja to move the Mixer, which from the rumors seems to be a rather high amount of money. So Microsoft is hopefully going to want to see a large amount of payback for that. Only got 3 of my 4 goblin balls.
I can see.
Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here for the Famitsu sales. We're going to just visually scroll down here and see if there's anything worth really mentioning. Omega Labyrinth Live for the PS4. No, that's for the Nintendo Switch. Sold well, but Labyrinth Life didn't make it into the top 10. That was the censored version for the PS4. Had this game not been censored, it would probably be two steps up, like at least. It'd be in the 7th place instead of the 9th place. Hardware sales seems to be about the same too. We haven't seen the Famitsu sales listed in a while, so either I've been ignoring or missing those posts. Right. 4 of 30 cards. Next we have a game on Steam called Hidden, which it's mostly a black background with some I barely even call these anime girls or animated girls, but they're not really going with the moe art style. They're slightly different from there. It seems like this is a horror game from a third-person perspective, where it looks like one girl is looking for the other girl to rescue, and then you switch control between them, so there's an actual gameplay idea. This might be similar to the game Hayden, where it's a game that the creator just liked blondes in short white dresses or medical gowns, and thus releases 2 blondes with long hair. I would argue that there would have been a better move if they had split it up a little bit more, give one a different hair color. That you can barely tell the difference between the two of them, and maybe that plays into the story later on. This is $2.09 discounted, English only. This feels like a Japanese game, definitely. I've never heard of this developer. Let's see if they've even made anything else. No. Well, this is the kind of game you kind of have to put on the follow list. For what's being shown, which is very little, it looks like there might be something here. Otherwise, it might be nothing. Apparently they're twin sisters, so even if they're twin sisters, that doesn't mean they have to be identical twins. And even if they're identical twins, let's face it, people get different haircuts and different dye their hair all the time. So you could have added a little bit more variety there. But yeah, Hidden needs to be on the follow list because I need to see if there's an actual game in that, or if it's just a 5-minute experience and not worth anyone's time. Next we have a game on Steam called Market Dominion. It looks like MS Paint level graphics. Just seems like this is probably a oil baron strategy capitalism simulator game. Doesn't look that interesting. I'd still rather play something like Plague Inc. It's $7.99. It's English, Polish, and Russian. So it might be a Russian troll game too. It doesn't look terrible, just doesn't look great. So yeah, I'm not gonna put that on the follow list. Next we have a game on Steam called VR Wiz, which is this, you're playing as a wizard in VR, standing in one place and shooting at things. Seems pretty much exactly what it is. Yep. So that's $4.99, which is too cheap for a VR game, and English full audio. Yep. And not visually appealing, so not something I'm gonna put on the wish list. Right. Gamatsu has a similar article. Children of Morta launches September 3rd for PC, October 15th for the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. There's a pretty big difference there between October 15th and September 3rd. That's more than a month. That's more than a month in time. Again, I feel like Children of Morta might be a good game. I'm a little bit more hyped than I should be on that. Gamatsu has an article. The psychological horror game Those Who Remain is coming to the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It'll be playable by press at Gamescom 2019. So, talk about a major hype article. They have no release date, and it's only playable by press. So, this is a kind of game. It looks very visually polished. It's attractive, but it's saying coming soon, and I suspect it's not coming until next year, if I were to guess. If they were going to release it this year, it would be available to the public at Gamescom, not just the press. We've got another troll game here called Booby and the Booby Trap for 99 cents. Bunch of languages supported. The idea that this MS Paint terrible graphics isn't a troll game doesn't really fly at all. Or Bobby and the Booby Trap, perhaps. I don't think that's how you would spell Bobby. Gamatsu has an article. Oninaki Damon Will gameplay. I don't know what this game is. It's apparently a Square Enix game called Oninaki that is in development. They have more of these teaser bits of information.
I wonder.
Looks like it's a top-down Diablo-esque style game, maybe an MMO. They're tagging it as an RPG. I guess it's an MMO. It's going to come out August 22nd. Alright, so we'll have more info eventually about Oninaki. Let's see, if I magnetize this to this, it will do poisonous damage from its effect and kill everybody on the field but that one minion. If that's what I want. Let's see, where's my mouse cursor? Over here. Gamatsu has an article. News editor simulator headliner Novi News is coming to Switch this summer. This seems like the third or fourth news editor simulation game. It's almost down to the point where like people are making news editor games to pander to mainstream video game journalists. We can see that this game is very positive, so I'm gonna double check to see if this is on the fall list or the wish list, or look at it longer and see if it is a game I'd really want to cover. I'm not opposed to something like this, but it really is going to depend on the spin, the motivation, the theory around all of that. Right, so they got rid of the one that would do poisonous damage. But yeah, headliner Novi News is coming to more platforms. Gamatsu has an article. Square Enix announces its Gamescom lineup. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy XIV Online, Kingdom Hearts 3, Life is Strange Episode 4 Faith, Marvel Avengers, Trials of Mana, and other. So nothing too exciting there. If you really thought about what Square Enix could show, that's pretty much what they could show. Next we have a game on Steam called Run Roll Rumble, which this is a low polygon art style that might have something actually interesting in this, but this is also like a cutscene. So let's see what the real game looks like. Yeah, the real game is really zoomed out, and it is a Smash Brothers clone on the rooftops with like irate people, road raging people. 20% off for $9.59, English only. Should I put something like this on the fall list? Because it would be nice if there was a Smash Brothers clone that actually succeeded. But I don't think that this is it. And inherently in the description it is saying ordinary neighborhood of angry rumbling. So it's going to be just normal people fighting, which Smash Brothers would be incredibly boring if it was just random people fighting. Smash Brothers is only interesting because you're playing as familiar, recognizable video game characters, mostly Nintendo video game characters. So I think it fails in concept because of that, so I'm not going to bother to put it on the fall list. Next we have a game that's just a bunch of Asian characters. English not supported, it's free. It has a video here that actually looks rather nicely animated. But this is not the real gameplay. The real gameplay is more of a top-down RPG type game. But it also says it's an MMO and it's Chinese only, so this doesn't really look like a game that needs to be an MMO in any way. Here is a great example, I think, though, of the problem with Chinese, well, art style and the Chinese censorship in part 2. Is here you have a selection of 4 Chinese women, and they look exactly the same. And this is kind of an Asian thing in general. All Asians look the same, even the Asians in most cases. But I mean, it's just a palette swap. And slightly different hair colors, all human, all very similar looking. It's not creative. It's not the decades of weird creative ideas that we've had in the West, or even we've had hundreds of years of weird, crazy ideas that were permissible to be had and spoken out loud in the West, but also. Even comparing China to Japan, Japan has had decades of that, and Japan has gone wild with that, to the point where characters look vastly different and animation styles look vastly different. But everything Chinese looks so Chinese. It's as if a corporation just owns the China as a brand and demands everything look the same. And the only time a Chinese creator doesn't make something that looks like every other Chinese animator out there that I've seen is when a Chinese creator is directly stealing from like a Japanese art style or something like that. Which it would be better, frankly, if they stole more art styles. And I guess that's still a better position than most Westerners who have no art ability, it seems, and no art styles. But I would kind of like to see that improved upon also. We've had thousands of years of different art styles and different arts. You know, surrealism, Renaissance, realism, there's pixel, pointillism. There's entire chapters in art education books that it seems either artists are not able to copy or learn from in any way, or they just get completely ignored and not taught. And it really shouldn't be the case. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Bloodstream, which seems to be a VR game where you're swinging your arms around to cast a kind of blood magic style of casting against demons. Inherently, then it just means you're standing in one place, swinging your arms around like any other VR game. And it's a little macabre to be doing blood magic consistently. It's early access for $9.99 and requires VR. It's not visually attractive enough, and the palette of red on a red sky on the red blood on a just brown gravel road is simplistic and unappealing, so I'm not going to put that on the follow list. Oh, by the way, I haven't even been trying to friend anybody. So, well, we'll see if I can get somebody to accept a friend request and do the challenge of friends. I kind of don't even believe it will happen. Roll neck from the deck. Draw neck from the deck. Poisons. There we go. Next we have a game on Steam called Vacation Adventures Park Ranger, which it's a it's just a hidden object game, for lack of a better term. Like, maybe this isn't even actually a hidden object game, it's just a simplistic adventure game. It's $4.99, English only. Not something I'm really interested in. I'm not interested in spending potentially $15 to get up to Park Ranger 3. It never occurred to me as a child to be a park ranger. Like, it seems like something I might actually be pretty good at, but particularly if you can get internet and play video games on stream. But yeah, that's not something that I ever aspired to do or had any interest in doing. And I think there are very few park ranger jobs out there, and they pay probably not that well. Next we have a game called OXXO, which seems to be a single screen Unity game, but if it's cheap enough, I might be willing to play something like this because it looks like it's doing a kind of different puzzle idea. I guess it's a slide puzzle tile movement game where you're trying to get all the pieces to connect in a 3D perspective. $1.79 discounted. A bunch of languages supported. It says it has full audio. It probably doesn't. Because it probably doesn't have any speech. They desperately need to change full audio to spoken voice actors. Like, were voice actors hired? What are the names of those voice actors that were hired? Let's get actual accreditation in here. Oops, I won there. Wasn't really even trying to win, but okay. Getting a win streak bonus. Alright. And we'll see if we can get another person to accept a friend request. And while we're waiting for them, we'll play one more game. Yeah, I'll put OXXO, terrible name, on the follow list. We'll see if people like it. Gamatsu has an article here. Hatsune Miku Project Diva Mega 39 theme song has been announced. So Hatsune Miku is still popular. Still releasing songs as a virtual idol designed to promote Vocaloid, which it really didn't even successfully do. Instead, it became a virtual idol that's rather popular in Japan and has maintained popularity a little bit longer than you normally would in Japan. But yeah, that's interesting. Not super video game related. It's It's more related to the software, the Vocaloid software, which isn't really a game, although there are video games with Hatsune Miku in them. Next we have a game on Steam called Running Black. It's an infinite runner, we can tell from that, and from the looks of it, it doesn't look any better than any other infinite runner I've ever seen. It's 59 cents. Ooh, I didn't know you could get down to 59 cents. Can you get it down to 40 cents? English with subtitles, it says. And of course it's not going to make it to the fire list.
Quickly.
See, I only have a handful of games to cover still. Next we have a game on Steam called Terracotta Shards of Doom, which seems to be an infinite runner with a baseball bat and pots that you break. This is kind of a silly idea that maybe if this were free I'd spend 5 minutes on, but also it's kind of obvious that this is a low effort game that's been asset flipped, and or this is a game that was in development to be something way more than it is now, and then they gave up and abandoned the concept, and so they're just trying to release it and sell it as a finished product. They want $4.99 for what effectively is a joke game, and it's English only. No, is the answer to that. No, I'm not gonna spend $4 on this. I might have spent 50 cents on it, and even at that I was probably going to be a little generous at that price. So let's magnetize that. Does this have a death rattle? No, so I could play this and this next turn. If this stays alive, that'd be nice. You know what we haven't seen today though, and I guess that probably means Friday we'll see some of this, is we have not seen any we have not seen any adult games at all on Steam. Like, I haven't seen any low effort hentai puzzle sliders that came out. I haven't seen any visual novels with dating simulators or sex scenes in them. It's too early to get concerned about that, but I've certainly been on my guard for pretty much this entire year, because Steam still seems like they go backwards and forwards, and that might be the counterpoint to them committing to fixing the popular upcoming feeds, is that they might start saying, alright, well, now that we're curating, let's really curate and let's get rid of all these adult games that sell really well, or get rid of all these visual novels. Next we have a game on Steam, a bunch of Asian characters. G, no hero allowed, no puzzle either. It seems like it's a match 3 game. It seems like actually assembly of several simplistic graphics, simplistic gameplay ideas. This is a cheap Chinese game by my standards, but actually more work than I think most Chinese developers do. It's $4.24 and says it supports English on top of Chinese, but still certainly not a quality product that it would make sense to actually want on want to purchase. Next we have a game on Steam called Proxia version 3.1, which this video is certainly wild from what I'm seeing, but I'm not sure what this is. It looks like it's a 3D strobe light simulator cause seizure game. There's water effects, and there's textureless black walls, and then there's something that looks like a tentacle or a wire just floating around. but the actual game itself, if there actually is a game here, it seems to be kind of simplistic. Yeah, I don't think that there's a real game here. It's $3.99. It says it's English only. I don't see a game here. I see an assembly of random visuals trying to sell itself like it's a game. And if I can't even imagine that there's a game in it, that's a problem. So we can do this, and then we can do this, and then we can end the turn. So yeah, Proxia, not making it to the follow list. Let's see, I'm scrolling down Ninja's Twitter feed right now, trying to see where he said he had 1 million subs. Yeah, August 6th, he said, today we hit 1 million active subscribers on Mixer. Thank you for all the incredible support. I haven't felt this good in a long time. So, okay. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing that exists.
Unity, precision, perfection.
This one doesn't have a death rattle.
Ooh,
But we can do this. Give it more power. That'll probably be the last thing I report about Ninja for a very long time, if ever. Assuming he keeps his nose clean and there isn't some kind of attack upon him. I imagine that'll be the last. As a Fortnite streamer, he's not something that I care about. And then that.
I wonder what this does.
TechRaptor has an article here. Exodemon developers salvage a previously lost build of the game. What is Exodemon? I have no idea. It's apparently an old school first-person shooter. It would make a lot more sense if this was a game that was notorious for being lost. Apparently this game released on August 3rd, 2019. So all they're saying is we found an old version of our game and now we can show you a comparison of the old version versus the latest version that was released, which is perhaps slightly interesting if you plan on being a programmer or a video game programmer, but to everyone else is kind of gibberish. It's not important information.
I'm almost out of cards.
Next we have a game on Steam called Aim for the Win that looks like an asset-based first-person shooter. What's funny is I saw another game that looked somewhat as a little bit better than this, and I thought to myself I should put that game on the follow list. Looking at this game, this is below that line. Part of it certainly is the fact you have these floating bullseyes just in the air, and then you have this like robot suit that doesn't really relate or connect to the environment you're seeing as far as the buildings go. This is early access, free to play, in a third-party EULA, English only. Aim for the Win, not a game that I'm gonna put on the follow list. Now I only have 2 more things to talk about, so I will have to play off screen and hope that maybe I can get a challenge a friend on the Asian account, and hope that ideally by Friday I'll only need to play about 50 more cards, and I'll have this and this done. We frankly are not too far away from the point where I'm starting to not even care about getting daily quests done. That's certainly another red flag and beginning of the end as far as my interest in Hearthstone. But yeah, I'll try. I still need that gold, at least for the single player solo adventure here. Next we have a game on Steam called Looking Back, and it's a RPG Maker game with nothing else really needs to be said about it. $2.54 discounted, English only, third party EULA. But it's not an adult RPG game. We have Gamma Sutra has big news. Layoffs at Nexon America as 2 California-based offices are closed. So I'm not sure what Nexon America did. I think they were a publisher of some games. So I guess you could look into that if you're interested. That's a little bit too inside baseball for me. And that will bring me to the Humble Bundle, and there's a couple other things open. Let me see if the Humble Bundle has any new bundle. The Crusader Kings bundle is 5 days from now. There is a new games bundle called the Bohemian Interactive Bundle. So we show off this. Pay $1 more, you get Armor 2, Take on Helicopters, Carrier Command Goal Mission, and Take on Mars. Now that interests me really. Then if you pay more than the average of $11.13, you get Armor 3, Wylands, Original War, and Pound of Ground, which again, these are all war simulating games. And if you pay $20, you get Armor 3 Apex and Armor X, the Anniversary Edition. And if you pay $30, you then get DayZ. That seems really, really expensive. So that's not really a bundle that would be for me. I guess if you want ebooks of the My Little Pony comics, they are on the Humble Bundle store. I'm not going to go through that bundle on top of Jim Henson ebooks. So then I guess that just brings me back to Twitter, and let me just quickly scroll down Twitter and see if anything big has happened. Okay, here's an anime game that looks like it's adults that came out on Steam. We'll talk about that on Friday, though. I think there is something to be said about my silliness of going back through the Twitter feed, because almost nothing happens that's important. The most important thing of this entire stream today is if you're watching this live somehow, because I don't even know if anybody had been able to watch this video live. YouTube is screwing it up so badly. The big thing to take away today is buy DuckTales Remastered quick before it leaves the storefront. There's really nothing else. While there is major news breaking around the world and conversations about video games and violence around the world, those are really just distractions and garbage, and it really has nothing to do with anything that's actionable or that you could interact with or do anything with. And I'm having a real hard time imagining that there would actually ever be an occasion that anything happens that I couldn't just talk about it a couple days later. Yeah. So on that thought, it looks like I have seen all the new tweets. Unless the whole thing is just messed up with the new Twitter. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.